Welcome to my channel. Today is April 5th, 2025, and our rain cycle for the year has ended in Monterey, California. We might get one or two more little tiny showers, but predominantly it's pretty much over. And that's okay, because we're going to go into our succession of plants switching positions now. So in the foreground, you're going to see that there's a jade plant and a pelargonium and some mint, and then there's flax and garlic. And what's happening is that the flax is an annual, and it's about to go to seed and then die off, and it's going to be brought down to the ground. We're going to cut it down, but we're not going to rip out the roots. And the pelargonium is going to start taking over, and then over here you're going to see an ice plant. An ice plant's going to start taking over. The calendula will sit and stay for the year. It's a drought-resistant, tolerant plant. Over here, nasturtium's going to start taking over and laying down a carpet. And there, in the background, you can see that there's some lavender and some clover. And the clover is going to die out soon. And when the clover dies out, it's going to be replaced by an ice plant variant that I may or may not be able to find because of the density of the greenery today. But it's going to be replaced as a ground cover with baby sunrose. And baby sunrose is highly drought tolerant. So what's going to happen is the annuals are going to start dying off, and they're going to be replaced by the perennials. The perennial system will take over from the annual system. And the yard will actually physically change in its form and its color. And it won't be so tall. Right now it's probably a foot and a half tall, which is something the cities don't like seeing. They think it's a fire hazard, but this is all going to get trimmed down, and it's going to be brought down to like 4 or 5 inches. And then these will be lush green plants. And most of them are flowering plants. Most of them are lavender or calendula or salvia or something of that nature. There's going to be some daisies. And the garlic is going to stay. We'll harvest the garlic at the end of the year. Over here, this is a radish, and this radish will be brought down. There's a lemon tree in there that's being protected from the deer. Deer think lemons are like lollipops. They just eat them. Very tasty for the deer. We have some really pretty cosmos right here. See if I could get a good shot of that. And there's different colors of flaxes. There's white flax and blue flax and scarlet flax, and different variations of the colors. There's dark blue, very bright white, then there's very light blue flaxes, and I'm hoping that they're gonna have enough diversity in the flax to create different colors of flax next year, just from pollination. And here's a mammoth clover. These are similar to the Dutch clovers, and they're all going to die off. There's miner's lettuce. Miner's lettuce is going to go to seed right now, and we're going to start harvesting these seeds and giving them to people, because miner's lettuce is a good edible. Good edible. Tastes a lot like spinach. Very tasty plant. More radishes. And down here you're going to see some alyssum. And I like alyssum as a ground cover because it's super drought tolerant. Puts down a lot of seeds. Makes a lot of white flowers or blue flowers, depending on which version you have. The gophers are still here. You can see their holes, but they're not destroying everything. We're going to work on blocking the gophers out, not killing the gophers out. We don't like killing things. It's against my nature to kill things. I do if I have to, but typically I don't have to. Here's a lavender that survived a transplant, so lavender can be transplanted, even though it doesn't like it. This was probably 3 times this size, and I had to trim most of that back because it died off, but it's coming back beautifully. Lots of lush new growth. And we put in some grapes. This is a Concord grape. And then my sister, she likes her plants, her honeysuckles. Those are honeysuckles, those 2 right there. And then we have a fig tree right here. Now, that fig tree is going to start becoming a more dominant feature as the years go by. It takes about 4 or 5 years for a fig tree to get up to height from a small cutting. And then we have an underground watering system. This is a Olla, O-L-L-A, if you want to research them. It's a pot underground filled with water, wicking water out into the soil. And we have our nasturtium kicking off. Nasturtium's got a really pretty flower. Really pretty leaves. In the morning, they usually collect a lot of dew and have little droplets look like jewels. And our onions are going to go to seed. These are seed heads for green onions. And our sunflowers are finishing off. These are black oil sunflowers, so they're not ones that we typically eat. You can see a lot of garlic. This rock rose is doing really, really well. We're giving it just enough water for it to go for it. And here you have another grape. And way in the background, there's another grape. Way over there, there's another grape. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to get a grape trellis to start moving along the fence line. And as it moves along the fence line, it'll take over the position of the ivy. And then over here we have a rosemary that I think got taken out by the gophers. It's still trying, so I'm going to give it water and see if I can get its roots to restart. Looks like the gophers got it though. Creeping thyme, really working well. It's really, really taken over as a nice ground cover, even in desert-like conditions. And another variant on rock rose, small-leafed rock rose it looks like. And these poppies are doing wonderfully. These poppies were an unexpected treat. I didn't expect these pretty poppies to come up. It was in a mixture of seed that I put out a year ago. And our mint is doing great. And then there's a creeping rosemary. It's going to be another ground cover rosemary. It's going to take its time. It seems like it's a pretty slow grower, so we're going to go with weight on that one. And then we have strawberries from last year. They're still alive. And we have our ice plant, our pelargonium, and then a lot more onion and garlic. And we have this tulip. This tulip has been here for like 3 weeks, just sitting here being a flower. And I didn't know we had tulips here, but that's pretty cool. And there's another tulip. I found another tulip. Where'd I find it? Oh, it's right here. There's another tulip right there. That yellow thing right there is another tulip. And I didn't anticipate that one either. Really pretty. Here's another rock rose next to a nasturtium. And they're doing really well. Here's the sunflowers finishing off. You can see they're pretty much done for the year. That's done. And there's a calendula that's just decided that's its happy spot. And in the background you can see 2 chrysanthemums. Well, not chrysanthemums. What are they? I'm forgetting their name right now, but I'll remember in a minute. And normally gophers eat these. That gray-blue plant right there, normally the gophers go for that first. And they didn't. They went for this mallow plant. And I was kind of surprised by the fact that they went after the mallow and they didn't go after the carnation. That's what it is, carnation. Those are two carnations sitting around bougainvillea. And I'm not a real big fan of bougainvillea, but it's here, so we're going to deal with it. And my swales are doing really well. You can see that the trench is where everything's growing, and the mound, this is the mound right here, is fairly barren. What I think is happening in this section of the garden is that the sun is reflecting off this wall, and it's hitting the ground and heating up the ground more. So the sun-loving plants really are going for it, and the more lush plants are taking a real bad hit. You can see that there's barren spots in this ground, and this ground had just as much seed placed in it as that ground right there. So both of them are being hit by gophers, so it's not the gophers. And there are barren spots, but those two barren spots is because I dug dirt out and tossed it there, because I was planting things like the grape. These barren spots are because there's no water. There's no water here because of the reflection of the sunlight. So we need to get this to be covered in more greenery to reduce that problem. There is greenery, there is lush greenery uphill from it, but it took a very long time to flush out, to really get going. It took a lot more water to water this than it did to water all of this. All of this doesn't have that problem. It doesn't have the reflected sunlight intensity, and this is getting way less water, and it's way more lush. It's a larger surface area, and there's swales involved, so the swales are doing their job and holding water and slowing water's matriculation down the hill. But you can see that that's going to be way hotter over there than this over here, just by proximity. And it's good stuff. Now over here I had to dig all this dirt out because we accidentally stomped on that fig, and the fig survived, thank goodness. So I dug all this dirt out so we could see the fig and not stomp on it. And this turned into a hollow depression zone, and that may be beneficial or not beneficial for the fig. I'm not quite sure. I don't know if they like wet feet or not, but we're going to find out. That fig should grow 15 feet tall, and 15 feet is roughly about the height of that first branch right there, the first major branch of that plant. I'm at 6 feet, and that's about 15. This bush right here is probably 30 feet tall. It's taller than the roof of the plant. Not 30 feet, 20 feet tall. Sorry, my apologies. It's taller than the roof, and the roof is 2-story, and that's 16 to 17 feet, so that's probably 20 feet right there. And that would make that branch about 15 feet, roughly. Anyways, you can see that the miner's lettuce is doing really well, covering the ground. Now a year ago, this was barren dirt. It looked like this. And the only thing that was in it was grasses that we didn't want, and ryegrasses and, creeping grasses that we didn't want, that have really deep tap roots. And now it's this lush meadow. And most of this is just setting up swales and planting plants that are fast carbon pathways that add nitrogen to the soil and start structuring the soil and cover the soil. And we wanted a lot of ground covers because the ground covers retain the moisture in the soil. And so everything here is either a ground cover or a fast carbon pathway, and when we trim it down, it's going to be mulch for the other plants, and that's a chop and drop method. And you can see the bees just going nuts for the plants. I mean, I don't know what kind of bumblebee that is, but that's a small bumblebee. It's a double striped, yellow striped bumblebee. Not the typical bumblebee I see. It has a fast mover. Most of the bumblebees we see are real slow movers. They're really loud. They don't have a lot of stripes on them. They're usually typically black. That one was cool. It was striped, and it was small, and it was moving really quick. So it's good to see a variety of bees besides just the honeybees and the bumblebees, because we need as many types of bees as is possible. And that's one of the reasons that there's all these flowers. These flowers, a lot of these flowers are bee friendly, and bees like them, and they flower throughout the year, and the bees can get a little sip of nectar, whether it's winter or summer. So this garden is really, really heavily designed around attracting pollinators and birds. You can see that there's some birds in the foreground and the background, and there's a hummingbird over there. You can't see him, he's a fast mover, but we get hummingbirds. See if I can sneak up on him. It's not every day we get hummingbirds hanging out. He's just fast moving. Nope, he's gone. Almost. I don't want to disturb him too much. I want to see the hummingbird. There he is. There he is. That looks like a female. It's like green-backed hummingbird. Oh, here she comes. Here she comes. Oh, hi, pretty girl. Hi, pretty girl. There you are. There you are. Show up for the camera. And that is that hummingbird will eat insects as well as pollen and nectar, and they'll help pollinate the plants around here. So it's really good to see hummingbirds. A lot of these plants are drought resistant, and we design around drought resistance in California. I'm in roughly USDA hardy zone 10 to 10A. We get about 18 to 21 inches of rain on annual per annum per year, which is pretty dry. So most of the time we're not getting rain, so we need to capture as much water as we can. And really good stuff when things work. It's really harsh when they don't. It's really obvious when things don't work. They become very brown very quick. It's very obvious when things work really well. Like this fern. I didn't anticipate this fern surviving. It was placed in an odd spot, and there's no water for it. And it's holding on, and so we come and water it now and then. But it was an installed fern, and it's growing new leaves, and I'm okay with that. And over here there's a snapdragon that was also placed in a spot where it wasn't going to get a lot of water, and it's doing pretty good. I had to dig next to it, give it some pockets to catch water. And then we got a marigold right there. Again, I didn't think any of this would survive, and it's doing really well. And I would attribute that mostly to shade. It's in the shade of a big, massive Monterey cypress. And then in our marshlands, we have potatoes and radishes, and lots of garlic. Garlic really is taking off really well on this plot. We have some oxalis and miner's lettuce. There's a borage. There's borage. It's going to come forth, show its colors soon. These are flax. This is all flax. And these are lentils. And then there's looks like a radish kicking off. We put in radish back here. We put in daikon radish to punch through the clay layer. These are sunflowers. And the daikon rash has to punch through the clay layer and leave a carbon pathway for the water. So because this place floods pretty bad. Mint loves wet zones, so we put mint in here to really start taking up the water. And this is coconut coir, and coconut coir is what's actually saving this whole project on the side. The coconut coir is acting like a huge sponge. Just really good stuff. Lots and lots of garlic. More borage here. And then we got some asparagus to kick off. Asparagus took, I planted it before the rains. I have some, what I think are blackberries. Another asparagus. This one's going to seed. You can see the flowers, and it's going to go to seed soon. Pretty cool. Another blackberry or boysenberry. And our blueberry down here is doing really well. It's going to flower. So those are the flowers of the blueberry. I didn't know if it'd survive or not because of the conditions of the soil. And then over here is a fig. And this fig is a fast grower, and it's going to grow like 30 feet tall. So I put it in the back of the house. And we're going to have to keep this one trimmed down because it'll be bigger than the house. So I got to be careful about this fig. We'll try and dwarf it out and keep it around head height just so we can harvest it. And then there's my compost pile, and I turned it today, and I started getting heat off of it, started smoking, so that's definitely a Berkeley method compost pile now. I would agree on that one. And then we're getting our potatoes to come up. That's 3 different potato plants right there. More potatoes. And more potatoes. We really want the potatoes to take over. Potatoes are a great food crop for humans. But everybody else likes them too. So I got to be careful that the gophers don't nom all of them. But that's why I put in so many. There's potato, 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 potato. Just really, really neat, valuable stuff right here. And the compost is definitely converting to compost. And you can see some of the biochar that's still too chunky. You know, it's got to get broken down. And here's the duff layer of the wood from the trees that we trimmed up. These are the sticks. And then it's bigger sticks, and then it's bigger and bigger sticks, and then the big sticks turn into logs, you know, and eventually I'll spread those out and make borders around my walking beds with them. Potato, potato, potato. And these are going to be the walking beds where the sticks are. And those are going to be flat level zones where we can walk to do our gardening. In the meantime, I'm trying to get things to grow in them so that way they can break down the sticks faster and we can compost all that quicker. And look, another potato. And another potato. How many potatoes do you see? How much garlic do you see? Here's a store-bought onion. This is an onion from the store that I just bought, and I just stuck it in the ground. I didn't try and do anything to it. I didn't cut it or use it. Hey, look, another potato right next to a snapdragon. And this zone's not used as much. It's kind of dark and quiet back here, but once this gets to a harvestable situation, I can harvest it or trim it down. And there you go. There's your update for April 4th, 2025. Maybe it's April 5th. I don't know. There you go. There's your Happy Meadow update.